One of the primary criticisms of the American right against American liberals and against the liberal corporate media is this tactic of branding all of their adversaries white nationalists or racists or misogynist or transphobic or LGBT phobic or any number of other bigotries. The point of that is to smear critics of their views and to shut down debate, to make debate impossible. Who wants to stand up and take a position in a political debate if you know you're going to be widely branded as a bigot? No one wants that. That, of course, is the exact tactic that has been used, although this time not only by the liberal left, but very often by the American right, who's now in unity with them on this new war, in order to vilify and demonize people who don't want the United States government funding Israel's wars, who think that Israel is using excessive force in Gaza. They don't want to debate it, they just want to scream bigot and racist at everybody who disagrees. And now we have Congress officially doing that in an overwhelming bipartisan vote today, in a non-binding resolution, but nonetheless an official act of Congress. We covered it last night on the show. It's House Resolution 894, and it's an official statement of the U.S. Congress. And one of the things it does in condemning anti-Semitism is it just flatly states that the House of Representatives clearly and firmly states that anti-Zionism is anti-Semitism. Now, one of the leading defenders of Israel in the House of Representatives, Congressman Jerry Nadler, who himself is Jewish, an ardent pro-Israel voice, represents a lot of Jewish voters in Manhattan, came out last night and said he was going to oppose this bill on the grounds that a lot of Orthodox Jews are anti-Zionist. So it's very strange, he said, to condemn Orthodox Jews who don't believe in the state of Israel, don't believe that their religion calls for an ethno-state in Israel, to be anti-Semitic. That's clearly not their motive. And a lot of other people just oppose the idea of ethno-states in general, regardless of who it's for. Oppose the idea that a minority should rule over a majority who don't have legal rights, as happened in South Africa. There are a lot of top Israeli officials that we've shown you before, including Netanyahu's chosen head of the Mossad, who he appointed in 2015, who in September said Israel has now become an apartheid state because of the fact that the Arabs who live in that region, in the Gaza and the West Bank, and who are 20% of Israel, don't have equal rights. Now, again, I'm sure a lot of you don't agree with anti-Zionism. I have no doubt about that. It's a minority view for sure. But in what possible world is it the role of the U.S. Congress to start dictating to Americans and formally declaring which political views are racist and bigoted and which ones aren't? That's not the role of the United States Congress to do, even if you happen to agree with their opinion in this particular case. Now, as predicted, the bill overwhelmingly passed. It had only one no vote among Republicans, 13 no votes among Democrats, another 92 Democrats who just voted present. And as I said, one of those no votes was Jerry Nadler, who gave a speech on the House floor describing what I just said. But Congressman Thomas Massie took this Jerry Nadler speech and also said on Twitter yesterday, this week I will vote against House Resolution 894. Anti-Zionism isn't anti-Semitism. The resolution states that all anti-Semitism is anti-Zionism. That is either intellectually disingenuous or just factually wrong, quoting the most senior Jewish member of the House, which was Jerry Nadler. Now, here you see the House vote on the screen. Every single bill that is deemed pro-Israel in the United States, every single one, passes by overwhelming bipartisan majorities. Go look at UN votes on this war that Israel is conducting in Gaza, the bombardment of first northern Gaza, now southern Gaza, the death of 16,000 people, thousands of whom have been documented to be children, not just by Hamas, as is often stated, even though Hamas statistics have proven to be accurate with prior Israeli bombing campaigns, but by UN investigations. by the Red Cross. All kinds of people reporting the vast, huge number of Palestinian children being killed. And it just stands to reason. The Gaza Strip is a tiny little strip of land. There is no safe place in Israel. Israel has been using 2,000-pound bombs provided to it by the United States. Of course you're going to kill thousands and thousands of children, which is 50% of the population in Gaza. There's just no honest person can doubt that. And yet, every time there's a bill in the U.S. Congress, despite the fact that so many people in the world, so many governments are condemning Israel, in the United States, it's the most pro-Israel country by far. It passes overwhelmingly. The Republicans and Democrats unite, as they've done on China, as they've done on Ukraine, as they did on Iraq, as they're doing now with Israel. And the bills pass overwhelmingly. I mean, they barely get 10 no votes. This time, they were able to get 14 no votes total on this resolution. A lot of people could have just stood up and said, I'm voting no just on principle. I don't think the Congress should be declaring what view is and isn't racist. That's for the American people to decide. It's not a role to officially characterize certain political views as racist and bigoted. And some Democrats, 92 of them, cowardly voted present because they thought it was a stunt, but they weren't willing to vote no. So it was left to 13 House Democrats, 1 House Republican, including Thomas Massie, who we're about to talk to, who voted no. And of course, APAC has been launching an absolute war against Congressman Massie. Here is a tweet they posted on October 30th, when he also voted no on a House resolution to stand with Israel. And along with Massie, it was Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez, Rashida Tlaib, Ilhan Omar. Ilhan Omar, Jamal Bowman, and Summer Lee, who voted no. And here you see a few more of those names. Andre Carson, Al Green. There were a few Democrats who voted present. And then Thomas Massie was the 1 House Republican. And he explained his reasons. That he doesn't think the United States should be funding this foreign war, just like he didn't think the United States should be funding the war in Ukraine. And here's APAC saying instead of standing with Israel, Congressman Massie voted with the squad, and he opposed supporting Israel, opposed condemning Hamas. Now here, the Biden White House today claimed that Thomas Massie was an anti-Semite. He posted this meme, the congressman did, where Congress is essentially saying, I'm not interested in American patriotism, but when it comes to Zionism, I'm incredibly all ears. I'm willing to go to bat for it. And it is noticeable that, remember when Mike Johnson was the newly elected House Speaker, he ascended to the tribune. He had an opportunity as for only one, as the newly elected House Speaker, to say what his priorities would be of the speakership. And he said the very first thing we're going to do as a newly constituted House is pass a bill supporting our good friend Israel. Not help the deindustrialized Midwest, not help people who are facing unemployment or fentanyl crises in their neighborhoods, overdoses and suicides and all those deaths from despair. No, that was not going to be the first thing the Congress was going to do. It was going to be instead, in his words, to help our good friend Israel. And this is what Congressman Massie was criticizing, this mindset that we're going to send another $14 billion to Israel on top of the $4 billion they get per year. Biden's requesting another $60 million, $1 billion rather, for Ukraine, while all these needs at home go unmet. That is a perfectly valid and legitimate argument for a congressman to make. And yet here you have Andrew Bates. He is the White House Deputy Press Secretary and the Senior Communications Advisor, who went on to Twitter today and essentially accused Congressman Massie of being an anti-Semite. He changed the meme to Thomas Massie, not interested in acceptable behavior, meaning funding Israel's wars, but anti-Semitism, I'm very receptive to that. And there was another senior White House official, Herbie Ziskind, the White House Deputy Communications Director, who works for Andrew Bates, who said all Americans, including House GOP leadership, should condemn this virulent anti-Semitism from a sitting member of Congress. This is what the White House always does to its political opponents. Calls them racist, calls them bigots, calls them misogynists, calls them white nationalists, calls them transphobic, homophobic. And now people who are opposed to their policy of funding Israel's war are deemed anti-Semitic. It's the same tactic. Thanks for watching this clip from System Update, our live show that airs every Monday through Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern exclusively on Rumble. You can catch the full nightly shows live or view the backlog of episodes for free on our Rumble page. You can also find full episodes the morning after they air across all major podcasting platforms, including Spotify and Apple. All the information you need is linked below. We hope to see you there.